What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. It's team selection time, this time for Game Week 32 plus. There's only 2 days until the deadline. I know Game Week 31 is not quite finished, but it's nearly there. And obviously, without sounding like a broken record, the only way to get these videos out is to do them a little bit ahead of time. So I'm going to talk you through how it's going so far in Game Week 31. Spoiler alert, it's pretty good for once. And then we're going to look ahead to Game Week 32, transfers, captaincy, and just general thoughts on my team as always. Let's kick it off. So it's a pretty good week so far in Game Week 31. I'm on 75. Obviously, these are going to go up, hopefully go up anyway, by the time the Thursday evening games have rolled around and been played. This video is going to go out before them. So I've got Foster still to come against Burnley. I'd hope for a clean sheet there, given Burnley's troubles in terms of how many players they're actually missing, especially attacking-wise. De Bruyne, as soon as he steps on the pitch, is good for points, so hopefully something there as well. And it's Chelsea, who I don't think their defence is awful and necessarily one to target, but I also wouldn't see it as one that's going to keep a clean sheet tonight, especially against Man City. And then Danny Ings seems to score in every single game, and he's playing an Arsenal defence that has for some reason given David Luiz a 1-year extension to his contract, which is extremely strange. So hopefully some points from Danny Ings as well. There's nothing to talk about on my bench really, unless Taylor happens to go nuts against Watford, which I highly doubt. But the 75 points has given me a pretty big green arrow so far. I think it was about 300 and it's about 100k green arrow, or near enough 100k green arrow, which could go down tonight. I'm sure there's some Man City captains out there. Kevin De Bruyne's effective ownership in the top 10k is like 93%. So quite highly owned, obviously. But I don't think I'm going to be hugely punished. I think most captains were on Fernandes or a Liverpool player. My captain was on Fernandes. Extremely frustrating. I kind of half was watching the match while doing the Scoutcast match day over on Fantasy Football Scout. And he was very heavily involved. And a couple of times he assisted the assister, which is hugely frustrating. We'll have to see how that plays out going forward. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I was going to captain Martial, but I did kind of mention that kind of could be his game, poaching goals inside the box, and 2 of them is exactly what happened. The ball that was kind of smashed back by Rashford, it was a tap, not really a tap-in, but a poacher's goal at the near post, and then the same for the second one as well, and then the third one was a lovely dink, and it was just classic Martial in the way he finished. And I do think going forward, that team was so attacking. Matic's really the only defensive player in midfield, and even he can kind of play more as a deep line playmaker as well. He does have a good pass on him too. So it's extremely attacking. I think the fact that we saw all 5 attackers get subbed at once, I think they're all going to start again in the next Premier League game as well. We'll have to see what happens in the FA Cup at the weekend. It is worth noting there is a few FA Cup games on, and unfortunately we're going to have to make our decisions for our FPL teams in advance of them happening. So there could be injuries and stuff which affect our teams. That's just going to be unfortunate, but it's something we'll have to deal with. So make sure your benches are in order. But it was classic Martial really, and it could be the same for next week. So 21 points, absolutely incredible. The first hat-trick for Man United since Robin Van Persie under Sir Alex Ferguson. So incredible score there. In terms of the other things, I went for Maguire, 6 points. Obviously, I talked about him versus Wan-Bissaka. Wan-Bissaka got an assist, really nice assist, and he did create a few more chances in that game as well. And I do think if I was maybe choosing again, I might go for Wan-Bissaka. Bonus-wise as well, he was better again last night, and that does seem to kind of be the same over the course of the whole season. So from a bonus perspective, probably a little bit better, especially when Man United are going to keep clean sheets. But Maguire was very close to getting a goal. He did push Jagielka a little bit when he scored, and it was disallowed. But on another day, I'm still waiting for that dream Fernandes to Maguire goal. But still nice to get the clean sheet. Trent Alexander-Arnold, absolutely incredible. What a free kick. Liverpool looked really, really, really good last night. Crystal Palace had no touches in the box, which is the first time that's happened since 2008 when Opta started recording that stat, which is ridiculous. And they look really hungry. Obviously, when the league is wrapped up, it might be a different story. We don't know. But I'd be pretty afraid of going about Liverpool players right now, given how good they looked. Saiss did get a yellow card, but he's so good on bonus. Even with that yellow card, he outscored from a baseline bonus perspective, which you can check on over on Fantasy Football Scout, which basically means how many bonus did they get without getting an attacking return. He was highest out of him, Bolly and Doherty, even with that yellow card. So he got a bonus point and got up to 6 points, which is decent. Elsewhere, Salah looked incredible. Really good if you captain him this week. Jimenez, of course, got his 1 return, got the bonus points. Not quite double figures, but he's about as steady as a returner as it comes. And then lastly, Calvert-Lewin. He hasn't scored so far since we come back, but in terms of shots in the box, I think he's highest for all attackers. I think he's joint highest currently with Martial. So the goals are coming for him, I'd hope. Next fixture's not so easy, but yeah, I'm not really too worried about him. So overall, 75 points, really good. Let's have a look how the team looks for Game Week 32. The defence remains unchanged. Foster and goal against Southampton at home. I do have Danny Ings in my team, so a little bit of a worry there, I guess, about one attacker playing one goalkeeper. But at the end of the day, in that kind of scenario, you'd hope for some Ings goals and some Foster saves. So it's not the end of the world. In terms of defence, Man United have got Brighton this week, which on paper maybe looks like an easy fixture, but they aren't conceding very many goals in general this season. It's not really a team I would expect to get turned over that often. And they've really been playing well since they got back from lockdown as well. They held Leicester to a draw. And they obviously had that missed penalty from Maupay as well, so that could have been a win there. And they beat Arsenal too, so they're going to be absolutely confidence high coming into that Man United game. And it is at home for Brighton as well. So I'm not sure what to make about that Man United game. I could see a clean sheet because I think defensively, I think Maguire and Man United in general now have 5 clean sheets in the last 7 league games, which has kind of gone under the radar a little bit. So defensively, they are playing really well. I would expect a very similar team that went out against Sheffield United as well. And I think that's the kind of lineup we've wanted to see from Man United for a while. Like before, against Spurs, we had Fred and McTominay. And I'm sure some of the lineup against Sheffield United was because of rotation and resting players and stuff. But McTominay and Fred kind of made a bit more sense against Spurs. Give Matic a bit more time to get kind of involved, up to speed. And also because we needed that kind of more defensive-minded players and ball winners in midfield. Whereas against Sheffield United, we knew we were going to have more of the ball, so we just went with Matic as defensive player, and the rest were kind of all attackers. It was a bit like the all-out attack chip. So I expect to see something similar against Brighton. And although defensively it might not be quite as good in midfield, obviously with those players, you keep the ball a lot more often. I remember, I think the first 10 minutes in the second half against Sheffield United, Man United had 75% possession. Which is ridiculous. So I see something similar against Brighton. I don't think there'll be as easy a game as Sheffield United, who are missing Egan O'Connell and Dean Henderson as well, of course. But I can see a clean sheet there for sure. And Maguire is going to score before the end of the season. I really hope he does at least. Trent Alexander-Arnold, he's playing Man City. That's a tough game. That could be, I think the title depends on what Man City do against Chelsea. I think if they beat Chelsea, then it goes down to the Liverpool game. And obviously Man City are not going to want to lose. They already know they've lost the title, of course, but they're not going to want it to happen at their ground. So Man City away is a tough fixture for Trent, I think, this week. But am I going to rest someone that's on course for 229 points this season if he keeps up his current 6 points per match? Absolutely not, especially with the attacking potential as well. What a free kick, by the way. Last night as well. So Trent obviously plays. And Sice, I've talked about Wolves' defence so much. 9 clean sheets and 15 now for Bolly. I still think Bolly is probably the worst defender out of the 3, him, Sice and Doherty, just because he kind of lacks the bonus points versus Sice and the attacking threat versus the other 2 as well. So having Sice is great. I don't really have room for Matt Doherty still, and I'm not going to... as much as I think he'll be great, and I'm sure he'll get some more attacking returns, and if you look at his recent returns, it's absolutely ridiculous. And I do have 2 million in the bank, so I could get him. I just think Sice offers such good value, and there are plans I have for the rest of my attack where I'm going to need that money. So I just think right now I just can't go with Doherty. I'm happy enough with Maguire. Maybe I'd be more happy if it was Wan-Bissaka, but I think that's such a sideways move. If Maguire scores that header, then suddenly he's on course to score more than Wan-Bissaka anyway. So defence looking pretty solid this week. Trent Alexander-Arnold, a little bit of a worry maybe against Man City, but what can you do but play the guy? He's so good. Okay, so with midfielders, let's talk about Salah and De Bruyne first. They're playing each other. I mean, obviously I'm not going to bench them. For one, my bench is awful. It's a playing bench, but it's not kind of got the players on that you'd want to play instead of the likes of De Bruyne and Salah. I've seen some people maybe with slightly better benches where they might want to rotate, but given what these two can do, it's not likely to happen. Now, I have toyed with the idea of getting rid of one this week, maybe going for someone like Son, playing Sheffield United away. Now, yes, they're going to have Dean Henderson back, and yes, I think Egan can play as well, and O'Connell might be back. We'll have to wait and see. So it is going to be a tougher game, and I do think attacking-wise, Spurs probably not quite at the level at the moment of Man United, and that feels weird to say, I know, and I'm sure some people will disagree, but Man United are kind of on it at the moment. But still, that could be a good game for them, and then that will give me the money to get Aubameyang up front maybe for a one-week punt, captain against Norwich. The only problem is, that's 2 transfers to get rid of them, and it's going to be 2 transfers to go back as well, because I'd have to reduce the money out of kind of the Aubameyang position to get the money back to get Salah or De Bruyne back, if that makes sense. And the problem with these two are, they're going to have very little left to play for in the league after this game week, but the fixtures are so good. Like Liverpool in game week 33 have Aston Villa, And Man City's fixtures are basically good for the rest of the season. So that is worrying me. Like, I am trying to look to do something different with this team to get up the ranks. But this week I kind of, in terms of my choices, I'm sure someone would look at it and say you played safe. You captained Fernandes, you had a pretty good template team, whatever. It wasn't that special. But now I've gone up 100,000 places. So should I be really worried about doing something massively different, like getting Son and Aubameyang in and getting rid of Salah? And given the fixtures and how good Liverpool looked last night, I know it was just Crystal Palace and Zaha wasn't on the pitch for very long because he went off injured. But they look so good, and they've got literally nothing to play for once the league is won. So I do expect to see some rotation there, but they've got records to chase, and maybe they'll go for that. They could start managing minutes a bit more. Maybe Salah and Mane get kind of 60 minutes, 65 minutes, and then come off each game. They can still do a lot of damage with the fixtures they've got in Game Week 33 onwards. So I'm really loath to get rid of them as much as they're taking up budget. I do want to do something different. I'm going to talk about that with forwards in a minute. But I'm not sure it's getting rid of either of these two. And Man City, I'd almost want to double up from Game Week 33, let alone getting rid of De Bruyne. So I think right now I have to play them. That game, I really don't know what to make of it. It could be really, really open. Pep kind of saying, look, yes, you've won the title, but we are still the better team. Liverpool just absolutely going for it because it's a title game. They know they've already won it, so why not do it in style? I really don't know how to call that game, to be completely honest. But there's no way I can get rid of either of those two at the moment. Man United, like I said, Brighton are going to put up more of a fight than Sheffield United did, so that's going to be maybe a little bit of a worry having double attack. But given how well they've played, I'm pretty confident, to be honest, in having them. Now, my captaincy's on Martial, and I do think, and I'm kicking myself a bit because sometimes I say a lot of stuff and then I don't really consider it for captain. I did mention that was the type of game where Martial might do okay in. Not that I was ever not going to captain Fernandes, but now this is a similar type of game where it's going to be hard to get past, and we're going to need that poacher in the box. When we finally get that final pass through, then Martial is going to be the one there. Maybe Rashford as well. Rashford played very well last night, and if you're an owner, I'd be incredibly happy with how he played. On another day, he puts in a couple of goals, and you get a mammoth score. But I've also got that gambler's fallacy thing of, well, he's just scored 3 goals. He's not going to do that again. And I know he's not going to score a hat-trick, probably. But he could get 1 or 2 goals, maybe a goal and assist, and it could be a good fixture. And it's going to be different. I know some people are now going to be drawn to captaining him as well, as I am, of course, right now. But still, most captains are going to be on the likes of Fernandes or De Bruyne or Salah or Jimenez, whoever it might be. So he's still a differential captain this week. So I'm strongly considering it. I might just switch it back to Fernandes because Fernandes has been so good and he was very unlucky not to get points last night. And on another day he would. Him and Pogba were still very attacking and getting forward. So I might switch back. But I'm definitely not going to captain De Bruyne or Salah. I'm happy to own them from Game Week 33. It's a different story. But this week it's currently on a Man United player again. So up front, I've got Ings, Jimenez and Calvert-Lewin. So Ings, like I said, is playing my goalkeeper. I know some people seem to look at teams and really worry about that. But as I always say, you can't just make transfers for any particular week. There's no point in transferring Ings out and then back in. There's always a chance someone misses a penalty, Foster saves it, Ings gets the follow-up or something completely niche like that. But obviously right now I want to keep him. I want to see how he does against Arsenal, and I want to see if there's any word about possible rotation from Hasenhüttl. The only problem is I don't know how many press conferences we're going to get before the weekend, which is a little bit of a worry. But Danny is looking pretty good. The main problem I have is, I guess, I don't really want to change any of the midfielders. As much as I'd love Son, and I could go to 3-5-2 and use two transfers, use one hit. But I don't have quite the money to do Ings to basically Son and then switch the other value around, if that makes sense. Because 2 million would put Ings at about 8.6 for me because I got him at 6 million. So 8.6 million on a midfielder, swapping kind of Hayden for like a Greenwood or, well, not Greenwood for me because I already got 3 Man United, but Nketiah, I can't quite do it to get Son. So I don't really know 100% what to do there. So Ings is someone I'm considering getting rid of because I know he has done well with the fixtures or hard fixtures already this season, but the fixtures are really difficult again. And yes, he's great value if he keeps scoring, but I just think at some point maybe the goals are going to diminish a little bit with the fixtures they have, and especially the amount of games they have to play. So he is probably the one player in this team that I would look to get rid of if I had a good option to get rid of him. Maybe not against Watford, although Watford have been very good defensively under Nigel Pearson. But at some point soon, I probably will look to get rid of him. Jimenez has to stay. The postman, he always delivers. I think Jota hasn't looked great in the first 2 games, but he is somewhat of a slow starter. So if you've got him, I wouldn't necessarily 100% worry just yet. It is Aston Villa up next as well, but Jimenez obviously stays. And Calvert-Lewin, I don't think there's another striker that I'd really want that I can afford. Like Jamie Vardy, to be fair, hasn't looked great so far since we come back. I'd love Aubameyang this week, but it's not as simple as switching Calvert-Lewin to Aubameyang given the money that's at stake. So I can't do that either. And obviously Rashford I can't have because I've got 3 Man United as well. So it's a tricky one this week, to be completely honest, in terms of transfers. I'm not going to make a transfer, I don't think, because I don't have one that I can do that I want to do. Now, the one thing I'm considering for future weeks is how to get Gabriel Jesus in from game week 33. Now, I know some people are saying he'll be rotated. Like Pep has said that Gundogan could play as a false 9, which seems crazy to me, but it is Pep, so he probably will do it at some point. Sterling can play false 9 as well, but he did say they got no problems with playing Jesus as the striker while Aguero is out. And it does look like Aguero is going to miss a good deal of time, maybe even the rest of this season. So before I have to make that game week 33 decision, so I'm already thinking ahead, we're going to see Man City against Chelsea, we're going to see them against Liverpool, and we're going to see them in the FA Cup. So I can see what kind of minutes Jesus gets and when as well, which I think is very interesting. So Ings to Jesus, I'm still about 1 million light. So right now, I'm not 100% sure how I get that million. Do I get rid of Salah or De Bruyne before really good fixtures? Do I get rid of an informed Fernandes and Martial? Probably not. I don't really want to get rid of Maguire for a 4.3. Trent has to stay as well until I see that he's getting really heavily rotated. So I'm kind of almost stuck because there's players I want, I just can't afford them, and I don't want to get rid of my team. And I guess, like I said before, when I've just got 100k green arrow, I'm not saying I'm going to get another one this week, but that was without doing any rash decisions. It was making sensible choices. And maybe that's what I need to do. Go through this game week without making a transfer and then kind of reassess how I use 2 free transfers to better this team. Because right now, there's nothing sticking out to me that is absolutely must sell. I would love to take a punt on someone else instead of Ings, but I'm not really quite sure for that price who it might be. Morpay looks okay. Fixtures are tough. IU at Crystal Palace, I wouldn't back their attack even though he's done okay. Their fixtures are pretty tough as well. Like Callum Wilson for Bournemouth, they're not looking good. Their fixtures aren't great either. I can't get Rashford. Vardy's not looking worth the money right now, and I can't afford him anyway. So it's very hard to make a transfer this week, I think. So I'm going to stick with it how it is. Captaincy-wise, I am quite tempted to go for Jimenez, although he doesn't necessarily haul very often. Aston Villa might be a good fixture to do that, although again, they've been pretty good defensively since they come back, although Wolves, I think, is a different kettle of fish in terms of who they've played so far. So captaincy will probably be on one of the Man United boys. I might switch back to Fernandes or Jimenez. I don't think I'm making a transfer this week. So that's it for this one. Thanks very much for watching. I know these are kind of fairly long compared to a lot of other team selection videos, but I hope when I'm talking about my players and other players I might bring in, it gives you a lot of valuable info or useful info when you're making your decisions for your team. So this is kind of my format, my style, so hopefully you have enjoyed it. If you have, make sure to give it a like. Subscribe if you're new around here as well. If you want to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, links are in the description below. And we have had a few sign-ups to Patreon in the last few days, so thanks very much for doing that. If you want to support the channel a little bit further, there is a Patreon link in the description below. Otherwise, I will catch you this evening for a live stream, the FPL League live stream straight after the Man City and Chelsea game, so around 10 PM. So it's going to be a late one, but I'm going to get that stream in, and then I'll be back tomorrow with a game week preview ahead of Saturday's deadline. It's a busy time. It's a good time. FPL is here. Game week 32. Good luck, everyone.